Hello there, very good evening and welcome to our Primetime News Bulletin. I'm Sharon Silva.
And I'm Dasnia Thada. Let's start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
President Maithripala Sirisena in London for Chogam participates in oil anointment ceremony at the Buddhist temple. MP Mahindananda ALUTHGAMAGE placed in remand custody after failing to meet bail conditions. Joint opposition extends invitation to SLFP MPs who defected from the government. Western Province Chief Minister says no plans to join the joint opposition. Russian President Vladimir Putin warns of global chaos if the West strikes Syria again. Commonwealth Games boxing winners return to the island.
President Maithripala Sirisena, who is in the UK to attend the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, also known as Chogam, participated in the ritual anointment of the head with oil at the Buddhist temple in London today.
President Maithripala Sirisena, who is now in London, will attend the Chogam on the 19th at 10 a.m. London time. The President visited London Bauddha Vihara this morning.
The ritual was performed by the Chief Sanganayak of Britain and the Chief Incumbent of the Buddhist temple in London, Venerable Bogoda Sila Vimalathera. The Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting and parallel meetings will be held from today until the 21st of this month. Key among the parallel meetings are the Commonwealth Youth Forum, the Women's Forum and the Business Forum. President Sirisena is also scheduled to address the Commonwealth Business Forum. The President's Media Division says President Sirisena has also been invited to deliver the keynote address at a parallel meeting on achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. President Sirisena will also participate in bilateral meetings with leaders including UK Prime Minister Theresa May. During his official visit to the UK, the President will also attend a celebratory event to mark the 92nd birthday of Queen Elizabeth II.
The President is to give the keynote speech at the Commonwealth Business Forum on the 18th, where the practical ways to enhance the businesses and trade will be discussed. And President is to visit and speak to Sri Lankans residing in London tomorrow.
In the meantime, several events were organized across the island today to observe the New Year ritual of anointing the head with oil.
The auspicious time for anointing the head with oil was 10:16 a.m. today. The state event was held at the Attanagalla Rajama Vihara under the auspices of Speaker Karu Jayasuriya and Minister Dr. Rajitha Senaratne. An anointment ceremony was also held at the Natha Devalaya in Kandy. Sirasa TV was the media sponsor of this event.
نزلنا لتحت على التهوية لنهاي صاروا يجيبوا الشهداء.
Instead of breathing the air, we breathe the smell of blood. This was what 7-year-old Masa, one of the survivors of a deadly chemical attack in Syria, said when she shared her story for the first time. Speaking yesterday alongside her mother, Masa described how she and her family were hiding in a basement when a barrel dropped.
In spite of the frightful experience she had undergone, 7-year-old Masa was still able to smile while sharing her story.
كنا بدوما كنا بالأبو القصف شغال فجأة جت برميل جت برميل ما فجر عمل هيك طلعنا الآخر صاروا يقولوا لنا طلعوا طلعنا الآخر طابق أنا وقعت بالأرض ما قدرت أتقاوم ماما قالت لعمه بنتي الصبح ننام جينا نغفل قام ضربت الطيارة صرنا بالغبرة نزلنا لتحت على الأبو إنه نزلنا لتحت على التهوية لنهاي صاروا يجيبوا الشهداء.
On Saturday, the United States, France and Britain launched 105 missiles targeting what the Pentagon said were 3 chemical weapons facilities in Syria in retaliation for a suspected poison gas attack in Douma on the 7th of April.
Our message was crystal clear. The United States of America will not allow the Assad regime to continue to use chemical weapons. If the Syrian regime uses this poisonous gas again, the United States is locked and loaded. When our president draws a red line, our president enforces the red line.
Damascus denies using or possessing chemical weapons and called the strikes an act of aggression. The Arab League called for an international probe into the criminal use of chemical weapons in Syria and condemned what it saw as Iran's interference in the affairs of other countries. Saudi Arabia and its allies have expressed support for Saturday's missile strikes against alleged chemical weapons facilities in Syria, while Iraq and Lebanon condemned the strikes. Russian President Vladimir Putin warned that further Western attacks on Syria would bring chaos to world affairs as Washington prepared to increase pressure on Russia with new economic sanctions. In a telephone conversation with his Iranian counterpart Hassan Rouhani, Putin and Rouhani agreed that the Western strikes had damaged the chances of achieving a political resolution in the 7-year Syria conflict. French President Emmanuel Macron said he had convinced US President Donald Trump to keep troops in Syria, as he defended joint airstrikes he said were legitimate and allowed France and allies to regain credibility.
Oui, il y a 10 jours.
10 days ago, President Trump was saying the United States should withdraw from Syria. We convinced him that it was necessary to stay there in Syria, and I think that on a diplomatic level, beyond what happened, those 3 strikes, which are one element, and for me that's not the most important thing, which is happening in Syria. We also persuaded him that we needed to limit the strikes to chemical weapons sites.
I'm afraid that the Syrian war in many ways will go on in its horrible, miserable way. But it was the world saying that we've had enough of the use of chemical weapons, the erosion of that taboo that has been in place for 100 years has gone too far under Bashar al-Assad, and it was time that we said no. And I think it was totally, therefore, the right thing to do.
Pope Francis called on world leaders to renew efforts to bring peace to Syria, saying he was deeply troubled by their failure to agree on a joint plan to end the bloodshed.
I am deeply disturbed by the current world situation, in which, despite the tools available to the international community, it is difficult to agree on a common action in favor of peace in Syria and other regions of the world. While I am praying for peace, I invite all people of goodwill to keep doing the same. I appeal again to all the political leaders so that justice and peace prevail.
La giustizia e la pace.
In the 7 years since the conflict began in Syria, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, a UK-based monitor, said the death toll could be as high as 511,000. According to the United Nations, more than 5 million people have fled the country and another 6 million have become internally displaced.
Former Minister Mahindananda ALUTHGAMAGE, who has been charged with financial misappropriation, was granted bail today after being arrested by the FCID and produced in court. However, the former minister was placed in remand custody for failing to fulfill the conditions of his bail.
ALUTHGAMAGE is accused of using funds from Lanka Limited under the previous regime to purchase sports equipment worth 39 million rupees, which was then distributed for political gain. He was arrested by the Financial Crimes Investigation Division this morning when he arrived to provide a statement and was subsequently produced in court.
The accusation against me is to do with 14,000 carom boards which were imported by Lanka Limited. The carom boards were imported by Lanka, the payment was made by Lanka and the distribution was carried out by Lanka. They have tried to arrest me and summon me for an offence under the Public Property Act, claiming that I gave verbal instructions. I brought some clothes along too. On the 10th of February, the people of this country asked the Prime Minister to step down. Those in the UNP asked him to step down from the leadership. He will not resign from the leadership or the government. As per his usual habit, he is imprisoning people. I brought some clothes along because I know this will be put under the Public Property Act and bail will not be granted. This is not something that falls under the Public Property Act. Lanka Satosa Limited is a private company. It looks like the cabinet media spokesperson is the one who is steering the law of the country today. What are these allegations? Importing carom boards and playing rugby. These are all lies. The officers of the FCID should also be careful, because once this turns around, none of these people will step forward to protect you. This is a misuse of public property. Everything around here is closed off because one MP is coming here to give a statement. We don't know whether they will use the Bowser to water cannon us because of the delay.
Following the interrogation by the FCID, the former minister was produced before Fort Magistrate Lanka Jayaratna. The magistrate issued an order preventing ALUTHGAMAGE from travelling overseas and ordered that his passport be handed over to court. While a statement was made that the former minister's passport is already in the custody of the Colombo High Court, this claim was not proven. As a result, the former minister was placed in remand custody and was taken to the Valikada prison. The case is to be taken up again on the 11th of May.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa attended an oil anointment ceremony held at the Sri Nyanodaya Rama Viharaya in Parakumgama, Polonnaruwa today.
Following the oil anointment ceremony, the former president responded to questions posed by journalists.
May Day celebrations will be held in Gaul. We asked for Gaul face, but we did not get it. It will have to be the 7th. We have held symbolic May Day celebrations at the Abhayaramaya, even when it was prohibited. In truth, we should give priority to the Vesak Poya. There is no doubt about that. We will celebrate May Day separate to the rest of the world. We are in the minds of the working people, but I believe that we must give priority to a religious and cultural event like Vesak. I do not see any wrong in what the government has done here. Now as a party, we have decided to welcome the 16 who were against the government. There is no opposition leader now. In truth, both the opposition leader and the opposition whip have been appointed by the government. An agreement has been signed too. It is clear that they are shareholders in the government. I saw a story like that in the newspapers and in the media. That was in the media too. I do not know about it. We have not discussed it.
Following an event held in Bellangwila today, the Chief Minister of the Western Province, Isuradeva Priya, commented on the future political plans of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party.
I do not think that the Sri Lanka Freedom Party needs to remain in this national government any longer, because both these parties are incapable of running a government together. It is my belief that by running the government together, both parties are being destroyed. Anyway, at the upcoming Central Committee meeting, we will decide that we need to be in the opposition. No, we will not speak now about joining the joint opposition, because the former president, Mahinda Rajapaksa, is still a member of the SLFP and not the Podujana Peramuna. We are in the SLFP and he too can come to the SLFP. Not only him, even the other joint opposition MPs can come to the SLFP. No, we will not form a government now. The SLFP will form a government after 2020. This has been confirmed because if the Prime Minister was defeated by the no confidence motion, it would have strengthened the UNP. I believe that by making him victorious, the UNP has been weakened even more, and opposition forces, including the SLFP, have been strengthened. The President will contest in 2020 and he will become the presidential candidate. This is the stance of the SLFP.
On our special segment Newsline on our sister channel Sirasa TV today, UPFA parliamentarian and former Minister Dayasiri Jayasekara expressed the following views.
We will definitely sit in the opposition and we will not join another party. On certain matters we can work together. That does not mean that we will agree with every decision that they take. When the SLFP remains in this UNP-led government now, we must consider the fact that we no longer have the 41-member bloc anymore. 16 have stepped out. Those who remain will have no choice when they are forced to work with the UNP's unilateral decisions. That is why we said that as the SLFP, we must step out and allow the UNP to run the government, because at present Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has 122 members of this parliament. Why should we go after this? Usually a party secretary must take charge of the job of building up the party. You do not have to wait for anyone to tell you to do it. You don't have to wait for the president or us to tell you to do it. If I took that position from the very next day, I would take charge of building the party up.
You can watch the full interview with MP Dayasiri Jayasekara on the main news bulletin at 10 p.m. on Sirasa TV.
Claims are re-emerging that the concept of a national government has been usurped to provide perks and privileges to a few. Newsfirst Faraz Shaukat Ali spoke to UPFA parliamentarian former Minister Dayasiri Jayasekara regarding the matter.
Now then, Mr. Dayasiri, I want to ask you this. Do you think that the whole idea of forming this national government was purely and simply only really for one reason, and that is by having a national government, the government was able to increase the size of the cabinet and therefore to provide more perks and so on and to get people together?
No, that is actually when it started in 2015.
Yeah.
There were some reasons for that. Expectation, I think it should be done at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But
what is the case for having a national government now?
That is what I am saying, because now if we don't have any trust with the Prime Minister,
yeah,
we all have decided as a SLFP team joined with the government for last 3 years, we got a decision to convey the message to the Prime Minister through Honorable Nimasri Palasilla that we don't trust him, we don't have any, trust about the Prime Minister.
Right.
We have already delivered. So as SLFP,
right,
we don't have any right to be here as the government coalition party for the another 2 years' time, because we have already given our mandate that we don't have trust about the Prime Minister.
But now, Mr. Dayasiri, the problem is that the 19th Amendment is actually hasn't really been thought of properly, because here we have a situation where it is not very clear whether, unlike in the previous constitution, that the President, if he wishes to, for example, he can't change the Prime Minister, or he can and he can't. It is not clear-cut like it was in the old constitution.
Yeah, that is how Honorable Ranil Wickremesinghe, when he draft constitutions for his own party constitution.
So there was a bit of a gundu in this.
Yeah, that is what I am saying.
Yeah.
So he's like that. So when he put all the wordings, he knows exactly what he wants, not the people of this country wants.
So basically, are you saying that the people of the country have been taken for a ride with this 19th Amendment?
Yeah, 19th Amendment. Actually, I was not at that time in Parliament. I was in the Provincial Council as a Chief Minister. When I read the 19th Amendment properly, actually we can see there are many issues.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, it is not clearly.
Yes, it's not. It is not specific. It is open. There's many ambiguous. There's a lot of ambiguity about it.
Yeah.
And so, at the end of the day, it works to the detriment of the people.
That is why I told you there is the fashion of the Prime Minister handling all these constitutional issues, because when he puts something, he knows what he wants, not the people or the Parliament wants.
Perhaps coming to the end of this thing, the National Unity Government, the status of the National Unity Government, although the SLFP, like you all, have withdrawn from it, isn't it true that the National Unity Government will still carry on because there is that small matter that there is a member of the SLMC who is supporting the United National Party, and therefore under the very odd 19th Amendment, this will qualify as a national unity government.
Yeah, that is the nature of this unity government, because it says the major party with other parties.
Yes.
So whether it is SLFP or SLMC, they have one vote, then one member in parliament.
Yeah.
All the others are in UNP, UNF.
Yeah.
They can form a government.
Right.
With a one member
of another party.
Of another party can form a government under the 19th Amendment.
Yes.
So people of this country should understand what is the unity government says. It should be a major parties get together and govern for the betterment of the country or the people. So I think, as you said, it is merely to get more portfolios
to give out the goodies.
Yeah, goodies.
General Secretary of the People's Intellectual Assembly, Attorney at Law Krishmal Varnasurya, had more views on the national government.
Under 46(4), it's only in the case of a national government that the number of ministers can exceed the number of 30, and deputy and state ministers and so on. Now, as to what a national government is postulated by sub-article 5, 46(5). It says a national government means the party formed by the party that got the highest number of seats in parliament, highest number of seats, together with other recognized parties or independent groups. Now, this is why I have been arguing, I have argued this before, that in my interpretation of the constitution, even what we had was not a national government within this constitution. Why? Because only a part of a party, SLFP or the People's Alliance, that came into parliament, has formed a government where the other part of that same party has remained in the opposition. So in terms of this constitution, it's not a party that contested the election, but part of a party.
Residents of many suburbs in the Colombo district allege that they are facing serious difficulties due to improper condominium development projects. They claim that the situation has arisen due to irregularities in granting approvals for such developments and failure to comply with the relevant laws. Many condominium projects are currently under construction in the Srijawadanapura Kotte and Dehiwala Mount Lavinia municipalities. These are some of the projects that are currently under construction on Beach Road, Diseram Road and Lillian Avenue in the Dehiwala Mount Lavinia municipality. Residents in neighbouring houses complain of severe inconveniences that they have to face as a result of these condominium developments. Among the many complaints submitted by residents are fractures on walls, a loss in water pressure and the destruction of byroads.
These are the homes we built with what we earned. We have to rebuild it ourselves now. This road is only 18 feet wide. The balconies of the new buildings are almost on the road. This is the water pressure we have now. Imagine how long it takes to wash rice and vegetables. This was not the case in the past.
We met with Minister Champika and appealed to him about our situation. He sent a team to examine the site and a report was submitted which confirmed everything we said. But construction is still ongoing and the law is still not being enforced. When the UDA looked into it, they said that Dhanasiri was the person who approved all of these projects. It was given illegitimately. The UDA was also here at the time. It was with their planning office. We asked the former mayor of Mount Lavinia about this and he said he would respond. The UDA is yet to respond.
Residents have informed the mayor and current mayor of the Dehiwala Mount Lavinia Municipal Council of the problems they face on numerous occasions.
Over the past 2.5 years, this was not under our purview. In the past, various incidents occurred and there was no one to look into it. When I was the mayor, if anyone complained to us, we have to take action on it. It is the Urban Development Authority that is responsible for this at present. This is a major issue for me. There were several incidents which occurred in the recent past which I cannot take responsibility for, but I believe 100% that such things do not happen at present.
The Urban Development Authority says that when it comes to condominium development projects, if construction is carried out in a way that inconveniences others, the license can be cancelled.
It is because of such incidents that the UDA took over the granting of approvals for buildings over 4 stories and larger than 4,000 square feet in Dehiwala and Kotte. Many of the projects on which construction is ongoing are projects for which approval was obtained from the local government authorities at the time. At present, what we are doing is that while such projects continue, we inquire into whether construction is taking place without causing problems for neighbours. Following such examination, when we receive a complaint, we immediately inform the developer to take action or we will cancel the license. We have done this in the past too. When undertaking a condominium development, you must obtain an environment and social impact certificate. In truth, there is a major shortcoming when it comes to authorities monitoring whether conditions and recommendations made by consultants are being complied with. The country also needs laws that are specific to condominium developments. We must consider both sides of the story and a proper study must be conducted. They are attempting to put up condominiums on very small plots of land too. We need a proper system.
Where corruption is rampant, the construction cost goes up also. There are also other reasons. The design itself. Any highway has to recover that cost economically.
On countless occasions in the recent past, expressway projects, including ongoing projects, have been plagued with allegations of unnecessary spending and improper feasibility studies. What causes such situations to arise? Professor Amal Kumarge of the Morato University joins us today on our continuing expose on the subject.
Now you will see that most European countries have scaled back this construction after having spent on major highway construction for 3-4 decades, right? So what you see is that they have kept on building these highways and now they are coming back, right? Whereas Singapore is a country that never took that route. They scaled back their construction and then they started with rails and buses, and even today 75% of all physical movements are by bus and rail. Okay, so the countries that depended heavily on highways are now scaling back and developing their rail and their bus systems and so on, right? So Sri Lanka can decide to follow all those countries that invested heavily, and we can go on this route for another 20, 30, 40, 50 years and then have to scale back because we will then realize this doesn't work. Or we can be smart like Singapore and find the shorter way to get to that point rather than realizing this by trial and error.
The national boxing team that took part at the 21st Commonwealth Games returned to the country today.
Sri Lanka was placed 31st in the medals table at the 21st Commonwealth Games that was held at Gold Coast, Australia, with a total medals tally of 6 medals, which consisted 1 silver and 5 bronze medals. This was the highest number of medals the country has accumulated at the Commonwealth Games. A special feature was that boxing made the highest contribution to this medal haul with 3 bronze medals. Anusha Kodituakku was the first boxer to win a medal for Sri Lanka since 1950. She also enters the record books as the first female boxer to win a medal for Sri Lanka in the sport.
The Commonwealth Games is a very special sporting event for Sri Lanka. I am very happy to be the first female boxer to win a medal for the country. The competition was very intense. Not only myself, all the athletes, both male and female, who represented the country represented all ethnicities of the country. I believe I am fortunate to have been able to have won a medal for my country. I am now hoping to go for the Asian Games. I have a feeling that Sri Lanka has a good chance of winning another medal at these Games.
Tivanka Ranasinghe and Ishan Bandara also won bronze medals in boxing for the country.
I am immensely happy to have won a medal for Sri Lanka. I achieved this after facing intense competition. To tell you the truth, a lot of people helped me achieve this victory. At the outset, I would like to recall with much respect and love the assistance rendered to me by the Army Commander.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Dasni Atada.
And I'm Sharon Silva. Good night.